So I've been struggling to figure out the direction of my channel, and honestly, it's almost made me quit before I even really got going. Um, I call it paralysis by analysis. Um, there's a lot of different quotes that come to mind, but ultimately, um, there's a lot of variables that I've been wrestling with, and they've really, like, as I sit back and kind of try and analyze, like, why have I not launched this, and start to question myself and feel shame and guilt about it because I promised myself I was going to do this thing, and even talked to a few close friends and mentioned I'm going to do this thing, and now I haven't. And so there's this like shame and guilt of like not doing what I said I was going to do and not accomplishing the things that I've set out to accomplish. And so I'm just going to be really honest and really transparent about this struggle for me, what that's looked like, a few of those elements that I think honestly probably there's several other people out there who've used um, all the same excuses I have, or you've wrestled with some of the same issues that I have around perfectionism, and there's all kinds of elements. There's a few here though that I want to talk about specifically. And so um, if you are in a place of decision, whether that has anything to do with YouTube or not, or that has something to do with your family or your work life, I don't know what question it is that's on your heart, but maybe as I share some of what's on mine and how I've been wrestling with making a decision and starting something new, maybe it'll help. Maybe to help you identify it in your own life, in your own mind and heart, so that you and me both can move forward, so that we can do those things, whatever it is for you, that you've been called to do. And same as me. And so this is somewhat me processing these things, and some of it is just some of the things I have processed already I just want to share. But either way, I hope there's enough insight for you that you can take whatever reality that you are wrestling with now. You can use what I'm using, and even just relate enough that you can identify those things in your life and move forward and find that path, that direction in your life and in your journey that ours may not look the same, but I think all of us wrestle with transition and new things, and feeling something that I want to do or change or transform in my life, or whatever that may be. And I think some of these things that I'm wrestling with are going to probably be a lot of similar processes for you as well, or thoughts for you, or roadblocks or speed bumps, or you choose your metaphor there. I'm big on metaphors, and so I'm sure I'll jump around on a few of those, but I'll try and stay on one path and in one lane. And so that's kind of where I'm headed right now. And so hang out, join along, and let's just talk about it. So in trying to create something new for me, I want to add value. I want to create something of value for people, for others. Selfishly, that causes me to grow and change and transform too. But it really is. I want to if I'm going to put something out there, I want it to be valuable. And as I look back, like my first two videos that, I just threw on, and I critique myself, and, I didn't face the camera in the right way, and man, this angle is crap, and the lighting's awful, and I rambled because I didn't have an outline at all, which I've improved, hopefully, even now. But those are some of the little things, and that I'll unpack a little bit more, that have caused me to not progress forward or not move forward. So in this process of trying to figure out, like, okay, Lord, like, what value can I add? Like, what is my life that who am I to create or add? There's so much stuff out there. I want to know, like, what is it people need? And I'm going to ask, if you hang around, which, I hope you do, I want some feedback. Like, I want to hear things that people want and need. And if I'm able to help in that way or produce something in that avenue or that particular direction that you need, man, I'm going to give it as best I can of myself, so that it helps people. Again, like, I think in my journey in the fire service, when I first became a fire instructor, I had an instructor who I trusted and looked up to, admired a lot, a fire officer who said, don't be the keeper of exotic knowledge. And this is true in probably any arena of life. Knowledge is power, right? And so in any career path you're in or have heard of, there's going to be people in that space who they want to keep their exotic knowledge to themselves because then they feel more powerful. They are more important. And the more they give away, the more they give to other people, then that must just be the weaker I'm going to be. And so I got to keep, like Gollum, in the ring, like, I got to keep this to myself. And I don't want to be that guy. And so when he told me that, don't be the keeper of exotic knowledge, like, give away everything and seek to let other people become better than you. Because as a leader, that really is the mark of a truly transformational leader, is that they want the people following them to be better than they were or they are. Like, I want people to pass me and become whatever it is that they're been created to do and be. I want that for them, truly, like, in my heart. And so anyways, that's one of the avenues I have thought about going. And so as I'm searching, like, okay, God, like, what is it people need and want? I came across this study. A friend of mine sent it to me from Gallup Leadership, released an essay, if you will, a research paper. And they went and discovered, and again, I'm going to grossly minimize what is a larger research finding and how they got there and all that. But the idea is they determined that followers most want and need from leaders is hope. And how do I question, immediately the question comes to me is, well, how do I give hope? How do I provide hope? How do I encourage people towards hope and light? And so that's one of the things I'm wrestling with, or have been. And again, I'm going to keep unpacking that here in the next few minutes. But, and just trying to process some of that. For me, if people are so desperate for hope, and I want to help provide that, then to me, I want to analyze then, okay, what skills and experiences do I have? And I'm going to pick those apart and say, okay, which one might be the most hopeful or provide the most hope if I pick this niche or this thing that I can bring to the table and actually say, like, okay, people, like, here's this thing, here is me. Like, where's the hope in that? Like, how can I find that? I got a sip of coffee. Maybe you've got yours, so cheers if you do. I don't want to be adding to the already huge amount of information and entertainment. Like, those are the two things. Like, you're going to be an entertainment channel, or you're going to be an insightful channel, and you're going to speak all this knowledge, and you got all these doctors of XYZ who can speak to incredible depth about a certain topic. I've been a generalist most of my life. I've been And I'm a handyman now. I've been a fireman. I've been a mountain guide and desert backpacking guide. And there's all these little things that I've done. And we've traveled the country. And my wife and I had an RV for years. And we were married almost 10 years before we had our first child. And so like there's a lot of life and experiences, but they were never really specialized in one thing, right? And so the real big question was, and I think maybe this will resonate with somebody, is the difference between like what's my passion and what do I want to talk about and what am I excited about, but also like what value do people need and want that I can help provide? Do those things that are intertwined or are they separate? And so that's for me, okay, I found that lane of like, here's the big struggle. What am I passionate about? Can I pin it down? And then what value can we glean from that? And how can I provide value in that? So the few kind of categories for me that I'm just kind of being honest here and somewhat processing this for myself. And again, I'm seeking by the end of this some insight and some feedback. I want to create this culture of feedback that I've experienced in some places that have been done really well. And I've experienced that done extremely poorly and even kind of toxic feedback. And so anyways, that's one element that I'm like, wow. So I want that feedback from people. So if you're seeing this, hang around. I'm going to get there. And I do at any point, shoot a comment, whatever, give me some feedback, whatever that may be. So here's some like categories that I'm thinking like, hey, here's some things that I enjoy, passions versus where I think I can pull some value from. One of them is just like first responder, mental health and support, holistic support. Again, I was a fireman for more than a decade. I experienced a ton of different mental health challenges. It's a profession, whether that's fire service or law enforcement or EMS. We see the highest of highs and the absolute lowest of lows. And sometimes in the exact same day, same shift, same hour. And that changes throughout a shift and throughout a career. Like that those ups and downs are steep. And so I know I've experienced like, okay, me as a younger fireman, what kind of support would I have benefited from or really found helpful that I just didn't get? Because one, it was just not a big topic back then. But also like, the stigma and culture in that space is, hey, just suck it up, right? Like pull your bootstraps up and let's go. Like, come on. And I here's the thing with that, with mental health stuff, I think it can go in extremes very quickly. It can go from like, hey, the things you're going through is not your fault, and let's sit and let's process this together and let's blame everyone else and let's, just find your inner peace and sit around and like not really move the needle. And the other extreme being suck it up, deal with it, swallow that down and let's go. I do think there's a balance. There is a sweet spot, and I've experienced this. And partly why I want to potentially do a channel that focuses on that and provides that for first responders and their families is like, hey, you need to engage in that process. For your mental sake and clarity and healing, you got to engage in a process. But at the same time, we also have learned, right, there is some element of pushing through and in the strength and hope that you found, walk in that and don't be paralyzed by the hurts and all the different things, habits and hang-ups and poor coping mechanisms or whatever it is that's you're stuck in. And so that's one kind of focus I really wanted to dig into, but also leadership within that. And so leadership specifically for first responders. My undergrad studies was in leadership, and I've worked with a lot of different leadership teams and groups in the mountains and in the deserts, and even in like weekend workshops with fire officers and whatnot. And I love that. I engaged in that process and really enjoyed that. Okay, so that's one arena. I don't want to beat that to death. The other one is just strictly leadership development for any and all, whether you're in fire service or, first responder or military or school teachers or therapists or pastors or stay-at-home moms. Here's the thing, leadership is a massive topic. There are so many elements within leadership, and you don't need me to teach you that. I think we all know, if you just go to podcast right now and you put in leadership, no less than a few dozen show up. And some of them, they point fingers at each other and they're wrong and we're right. And this is the best way. And this is the only way. And here's another way. And it's a dense topic, right? There's a lot there. But it's something I love. I'm a student of leadership. I love to take historical leaders. There's so many leaders now that I would love to get in a room with and I hate the phrase pick their brain, but truly encourage them to be in a safe place and just to give us those nuggets, those lessons that they've learned. And man, there's so much there. And so I love that. That's a topic I wanted to focus on. But also Bible study and digging into the Word of God. I am a Christian, but I'm also a Christian who has been around a lot of other cultures and a lot of other religions. And I see value in conversations and in study, and to not be on some pedestal that I'm like this big, highly trained theologian, because I'm certainly not. But just as a regular guy saying, hey, we're going to look at the Bible and we're going to read it together, and I want to have conversations with other Christians and with other people who don't believe in Jesus and the story of the Bible. And, maybe they're Buddhist or Muslim, or I want to have conversations in that space too. And to really seek real life application in that. I think for me, when I think of where's the value that could be missing in other places, is okay, yeah, we want to study and go into depth in those conversations, but what do we do with it? Obviously, I'm a very practical person, being a fireman and a mountain guide and a field instructor. I really look at truly where your feet meet the ground. What do I do with that? And I think, Jesus provides a ton of examples for that, but sometimes we gloss over it because we get so meta about it, and there's times for that. But I think he provided so much practical application, and sometimes it takes a practical person to pull out some of those and have a conversation about it. So that's another one. And the other kind of avenue that I was thinking through, passion and vision, and what can I pull out of me and to give to the world, is wilderness adventure and exploration. I've mentioned being a guide, and I personally found an immense amount of healing and growth in wild places, in the mountains, in the desert, in the woods. I cannot overstate truly the amount of growth and transformation that those spaces have provided me. And not just the places, really more importantly, are the people I was in those places with, and my focus in going there to those places, not to just celebrate the created, but to also celebrate the creator of those places and people. and to process some of those mental health things that I've mentioned before. And I know I've been very vague with that, but that's my story is coming. I want to share that, and it will come out. And that's something I'm still kind of putting together. And so, anyways, those kind of the four like main categories. Being the whole first responder, holistic support and health. Really emphasizing mental health, but also like there's a lot to that, right? Like cardiovascular disease and the fire service and EMS and even law enforcement is crazy. Just this last year, lost a brother fireman of mine who I spent a good bit of time with. Had a heart attack right after shift, was still in his uniform. And it's so incredibly sad to lose anyone. And I've had some other brothers and sisters commit suicide over the years. When it's avoidable, I have a hard time being okay with that. Accidents, and when it's your time, it's your time. I understand that. I've been around a lot of that. But when it is potentially avoidable, that breaks my heart. And so again, I have a heart to focus on that. Leadership development specifically, but also that's a very broad topic, so narrow that down. Bible study and just in general faith-based content. I know that can sometimes meet a brick wall in social media circles, but I think it's important to build that community around not just like-minded people, but just people who are searching. And for me, when I think about where is hope and how can I provide hope, that's where I found hope, was through my faith in Jesus. And I want to share that because I think it is available to other people. And so that's a big element for me that I'm really excited about exploring. And then wilderness adventure and exploration is just a big one. I enjoy that a lot. I think you can connect all these dots. And so that's where we're heading next in this conversation. Ultimately, I want to provide that like meaningful, growth-focused community is what I want to help build and provide that hope in some way. And so for me, it's meaningful work that I want to do. Yeah, I'd love to help provide more for my family at some point. It baffles me how much money is in this kind of stuff. Like, I'm shocked by that. But I've also like always been really frustrated with the idea that professional athletes, kudos to you, but they make so much money, and then you have people who serve and risk their lives daily, military, first responder, so many other professions out there that are incredibly underpaid for what they do. And it forces them it increases stress on an already stressful body and mind to have a financial burden on top of that. It baffles me. So, that is something I'm, obviously considering and hoping to grow for my family too, right? Wow. Okay, let's take a breath here. I want to stay focused. So I don't know what it is you're wrestling with or struggling with, but I would challenge you at this point to say, okay, where am I passionate? And the professional recommendation of, well, just follow your passion. Then you hear really wealthy people typically are the ones who say, yeah, follow your passion. Or there's also those people who say, following your passion is dumb, and just do what's necessary and make your money. And I'm not trying to lean one way or the other, but I do think it's important. I think the Lord gives us a passion and a vision and hope. Each of us, something specific that you're gifted to do. I think you have to be who He's created you to be to get there, which is a whole nother struggle and conversation we'll have. So, look at those things. obviously look at where your opportunities are at. And I think that's where we need to really, and for me too, where I've had to stop and actually write things down and say, okay, maybe this season is I physically am doing things that I don't love to do. My job now, I don't love to do what I do, but it provides a little bit of space like this to create and to focus on those things that I am, passionate about and whatnot. And so maybe that's helpful for you to kind of to look down that lane as well, that path as well, and say, okay, I may not be doing what I love to do right now, but how can I incorporate that in what I am doing? And if it's fully separate, okay, find that space. Like I'm trying to do now, is just find that space and start pouring into it before it's necessarily perfect, which my next big topic coming up here is perfectionism and fear. That's fun. Before I talk about fear, though, I want to share a verse that for me has provided some of that hope and some of that peace. And so if you're still wondering, like, hey man, like where are we going here? This is one of the things, right? Let's just take a breath. You can close your eyes if you want to, but I'm going to just read a verse. It's really been impactful to me, and then we'll move on. So it's Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. You may abound in hope. So this verse kind of embodies all the things that I'm like pursuing in this whole journey. I want to help others find strength and peace and direction through faith, through leadership, and through community. Like those are, when I break those other things down, the more specifics, and say like, what is it truly about those things? It's helping other people find strength, peace, and direction. And that's through faith, leadership, and community. And so I think as I see, YouTube channels creating these actual communities of people who, are focused on a certain thing, a certain mission. Order of Man's one I love, man. Those guys are doing incredible work over there. I love to listen to the podcast, but I think what's more valuable there, and I think where he really was focusing, is to build that community. And when they're doing events throughout the year and every week, man, they've got this Iron Council where they're working together in battle teams. I think this is the language that they use there. Correct me if I'm wrong, if that's something you're familiar with. That truly like hold each other accountable and encourage each other and push each other and challenge each other each week. And I think that's incredible opportunity that we have online now, that for me, because geographically I am where I am, this might be an opportunity to grow that circle. And so I want to expand my circle, grow my circle. And so if you're still around right now listening, maybe you're interested in that too. So just kind of keep hanging out, because I got, some vision there that I want to get to and share. So let's process a little more. So the other big thing that's held me up and that I've been really wrestling with is perfectionism and fear of launching, of putting myself out here. People are ruthless sometimes, and there's, there's some trolls, but, I think sometimes people, even meaning well, will say something that can just crush people. And so I historically, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I definitely, I want things to be done really well. I want to launch something great and beautiful and well thought out and designed, and everything structured just how I want it. And I know in my mind that's not realistic. Like, great things are not built on day one. Like, it's a year after grinding in and finding that grit in your belly where you realize, oh, these things can change and we grow and improve and become better here. But it's that fear and that perfectionism that have really caused me to like almost just quit before it's gotten going. Like I hadn't even really started yet. Like I still got a logo design and wrestling with names of this channel and all this stuff. And I hadn't even really started. All because I've been worried about, it's not right. And I don't want to look weird on camera and my angles be weird, my lighting. I don't care. Truly, at the end of the day, I know in my heart and my mind, I just got to start. And so that's a big part of this. And maybe it is for you. Maybe you're sitting on that fence too with the, perfectionism or fear of some other kind has kept you where you are. And honestly, I think there's an element of comfort that keeps us where we are. I think comfort kills absolutely visions and dreams for our lives. Man, that's a big topic for another day. That's a big one. But that idea of just wanting to do it right can sometimes just keep us from even starting. So let's, start whatever it is that you've got going or you want to do. I challenge you right now, start it today. Whatever that looks like for you, make some progress and a step forward. Don't do like I did. And a few months later, you look up and you haven't done it yet. And you're still writing on napkins and in notebooks. And you just got to start. Think Media. I love Think Media, man. You guys are awesome if you ever see this. The amount of stuff that you guys give and pour into other people is beautiful. I love that. But they start a lot of their videos. Like there's a little tagline. I can't remember the guy's name. Sorry about that. But he always just said you just have to press record. And so for you, maybe it's you just have to apply. Maybe for you, it's you just got to make that phone call to that girl, to that guy. Maybe for you, maybe you need to look to get out of whatever toxic situation you're in. And what does that look like to evac out of there? So for me, perfectionism slowed me down, but it's God calling us to step forward, calling me to step forward in faith, stepping into that fear. I think that's what bravery is. And that's when I lead people in the Grand Canyon and we're walking on these tiny ledges up, 2,000 feet above, the river where goats climb around. Stepping into that fear is bravery. Like that is, and sometimes you really, truly just take a deep breath and make a step. Take that step. Take another breath. Take another step. And sometimes it's that slow and steady that at least it's movement. And so here I am with that. I don't have those answers. I don't know what this whole channel will look like. I have a lot of vision, a lot of creative ideas. But, what I focus on and what's my niche, whatever word you use. At the end of the day, I think God calls all of us step into that. Isaiah 41:10, maybe you've heard this. Anytime I just read scripture, I always think about closing my eyes and just letting that soak into my soul. It says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So whatever it is you're struggling with, fear, uncertainty, doubt, you are not alone. I'm with you. I think there are many, many others of us that are also struggling with that and wrestling with that. But there is hope. A big part of my story, which I'll share a lot more in later, I had gotten to a place in my life 2 different times where I thought ending my life was the only way out, that there was no hope, none left. Deciding to step into that fear and discomfort and agony, for like stepping in and choosing to take a deep breath, and instead of stopping and staying there, to take a step forward out of it. There are so many things in my life now that I would not have ever experienced had I not made that decision. My wife, my son, so many friends that I've met in places we've traveled, and people that I've been able to truly help only because I stepped into that fear and clung to that hope. Big part of the story will come, I'll share more of that another day. But there is hope. So let's talk a little bit about my content and how I want to structure things. And again, I'm doing this so that I can get some feedback. If you're still around, thank you. I appreciate that, because it's certainly not as polished as I'd like and as clear and concise as I would like. But if you're still here, I'm very grateful, and would love to see a comment from you. Let me know how I can pray for you, whatever it is, by all means. And so the type of content format that I've kind of been looking at and wrestling with, talking head like this, so like it's direct. I think you and I can kind of just sit together and have a coffee and talk about life. And I can specifically try and add value, and especially in like lives, getting on live with people and just answering questions. And yeah, not that I have the answers, and maybe a question comes across, I know there will be, that I don't know an answer to, but we can still wrestle with it together. And so there's that like one-on-one personal direct connection. I really want to do some interviews with leaders, with with all kinds of people in all walks of life, to be honest, but bringing in experts and really adding perspectives to whatever it is. Me shifting out of the fire service and traveling the country and working with other jobs and blending with other cultures a lot more than where I've just been in my bubble, really added a lot of perspectives in my thought process and in decision making that I would have never gotten otherwise. And so when I can bring in somebody and we can talk through life issues, heart issues, mind issues, there's already a lot of those out there, but I would really love personally to do some of that, and add to that space. And then outdoor landscape stuff. So I've got some ideas and visions around breaking down biblical parables that Jesus shared and that the disciples shared as well, and just breaking those down individually and doing that in a more like cinematic way. And so going out to places that I explore a lot, which is like the Grand Canyon, or up in the mountains out west in Wyoming and Colorado and Utah, and kind of have some of that really cool B-roll that we can just process stories together. Just sounds like a lot of fun to me. I don't know if people enjoy that or not, but that's just something that's on my mind and my heart. Let's see here. So I found this quote, and I don't know where it came from, but this idea that wilderness can be a place of testing, absolutely, but it can also be a place of transformation and peace. And so I want this channel to be that as well. I want us to struggle and wrestle through things, but also like be at peace and be a little bit more graceful in our weaknesses and in our struggles with one another. And so I think, again, that's that balance I'm seeking between being too easy on yourself, but also being too hard on yourself, because those are things that I wrestle with a lot, and maybe you do too. And so I want to create that space where we can do that together. We can talk through hard versus more gentle approaches to life. So those are a few things that I've had on my heart, on my mind, I've been wrestling with. I really want to launch this thing. Today's my 39th birthday. So I'm working on my 40th year of life starting tomorrow. Yeah, it feels kind of crazy, actually. I'm not crying, you're crying. So here's what I would love from you if you're still around. Feedback. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm inviting you to join on this journey. If you know anybody who might be interested in some of these things that I've talked about, bring them along too. Tag them in a comment, text it to them. Say, hey, let's pick on this guy together, whatever. So here's what I want. 3 specific questions that I'll ask from you, and I want to hear answers to, and whichever one. You pick one, pick them all, whatever. Which topics resonate most with you? The idea of leadership, development, mental health for first responders, or really holistic health. We're going to talk about everything, but again, mental health being a main pillar. Wilderness exploration, adventure, or Bible study, and just more faith-based content in general. What format do you enjoy watching the most? Talking head like this, interview style. Again, I'm hoping this is more of a podcast setup, so you can watch it or listen to it, and it makes sense. But there may be kind of both going on. Again, I'm open to feedback there. And then what kind of content would be the most helpful and inspiring to you? What is it that you are wrestling with that you would love to just talk to somebody about? That maybe I'm a little further ahead in the journey than you, and maybe not. Maybe you just need somebody to process it with. And so, in that space, I just want to ask good questions. I want to encourage, but also challenge. Like if you're sitting comfortably somewhere and you hang around here, I am going to challenge you. I have historically sought comfort and stayed there way too long. And it's cost me a lot in my own physical health and mental health and development and emotional and spiritual even. So if that's you, I hope you'll hang around, but it might be a little uncomfortable because that's the goal, right? We need to press into that and seek discomfort if we really want to grow. And that's what I want, is a group, a community that is looking forward to growing together. So here's my kind of promise in this space is to be authentic, to be honest, and to really seek to add valuable content and create valuable content for you. That's it. It's as simple as that. I think a lot of folks, and I personally, have overcomplicated so much about life. I don't want to do that here. So I certainly don't have it all figured out, but I am going on this path, on this journey now of growth, and I'm inviting you to join. I'd love for you to hang around, grow with me, and let's kind of challenge each other a little bit in that. One final thought. At the end of the day, my goal is not to make content, to just make content. It's to help people become better versions of themselves, to be more of who they were created to be. So then you can do more of what you've been created to do, and really just to take the next step. It's not about, hey, our goal in 3 months is to have everything good to go and the best it can possibly be. One step at a time. One step at a time. So, thank you. If you've hung around, I am truly grateful. Now, leave me some feedback. Subscribe, like, whatever. Thank you. And I'll see you soon.